On today's episode, we talk about setting yourself up for success at Burning Man.
We get to share some of our favorite tips and tricks for making the most out of your experience, and of course, some Burning Man affirmations.
We talked about how to make your social lubrication easier and how to make your gifts more profound.
Enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to Stay Sparked. We are here to share inspiration with you, which hopefully makes ripples of positivity out in the world. I'm Betsy FINKLEHOO, a mindfulness teacher, somatic body worker, the creator of the Power Affirmation Journal, and also an 8-year burner.
I am John Halcyon. I am a gratitude evangelist and coach. I am a 26-year burner and co-founder of Backcountry and Pink Heart Camps, and the burner prep Instagram account if you're trying to get tips last minute.
Amazing. Well, I love that you are so passionate about Burning Man, because so am I. And right now it is 2 weeks away. We are here. We are in the countdown. I'm not actually going this year, but John Halcyon is, to add to that 26 years. Wow. And so before we dive into our conversation about Burning Man and making the most out of your prep and your experience, I would love to start with some gratitude. So what are you grateful for today?
In this moment, I am feeling gratitude for my Pink Heart campmates, because I stepped away from the camp and am doing a short trip, not camping. I'm camping with Burners Without Borders, and I'm just so grateful for the way the camp has supported me and encouraged me to take a break. And so I feel like I didn't leave a family. I'm just on vacation for my family, and I feel really supported. So grateful.
I love that so much. Well, I will share my gratitude for all my festy accoutrements, my festival gear. Right now, if you guys are watching the video, you'll see that I'm wearing my fun holsters and my colorful flower. And I just love how Burning Man has really inspired me to be a collector of colorful costumey pieces over the years. And even though I'm not going this year, I still get to wear all this fun stuff that Burning Man has inspired in me. So really grateful for the sparkles of color and creativity in my closet.
Amen. My pre-Burning Man closet compared to my closet today is it's quite a different experience.
It is, yes. Well, it definitely sparks a lot of creative possibilities for what we can wear. And we actually have an episode from one of our earlier Stay Sparked where we talked about creativity and expression, and Burning Man was a very big part of that. But today we wanted to have a conversation that is really about how do you really set yourself up for success, for an incredible Burning Man experience, whether it's your first time, whether it's your 27th time, maybe even for those of you that aren't even going, this might inspire you to have the best time at life, because Burning Man really does give us an opportunity to practice doing life in a good way. And so a lot of the principles have taught me so much about organization and about community, about creativity, about health and vitality even. And so we're going to use Burning Man as the inspiration to share this conversation. And so if you would like to start us off, I'm curious genuinely about what you mentioned, the Burner Prep Instagram profile. This is pretty awesome. Love to maybe just start us off there. What's that all about? What are you posting about? What are people, really interested in learning from you as a veteran?
Well, yeah, when I was one of the first people to make any videos about Burning Man, 20 something years ago. And so over the last 20 plus years, I've been making acculturation videos to explain the 10 principles, to explain some of the things in our culture, because I've always kind of felt that you can't explain Burning Man to people. There's no way. But the more you understand how it works, the more quickly you become integrated and you become an active participant. It's kind of like you can't explain someone the Grand Canyon. There's no way. No matter how many books that you look at, when you get there, it knocks you down. But if before you go, you learned a little bit about the geology and where the good hikes are, and what the flora and fauna is, then when you're there, it'll be a way cooler experience. And I think that preparing for Burning Man is kind of the same way. You can't be prepared, and yet preparation really helps you to appreciate it more. Mm-hmm. And so burner prep is really taking the clips from the 20 plus years of acculturation videos that I've made and editing them in a way that the attention starved kids today might watch, a minute talking about something rather than me ramble for 20 minutes about gifting.
Yeah. Smart. That's smart. Yeah. I love that little bite-sized reminders. Well, that's awesome because I have so much inspiration in this conversation too. Before we started recording, to give you guys a little insight, Halcyon and I, we were just like sparking. Oh my God, we could talk about this and this and this and this and this. And so I wrote down a lot of different pillars that we want to touch on today. And you just spoke to one, which is one of the 10 principles of Burning Man, which is gifting. It's a gifting economy. And so I'd love to explore that part of the conversation because I learned so much about gifting through Burning Man. And one of the little nuggets that I want to share with y'all is I've learned about giving gifts that really last beyond the physical form. So what is that gift that you can give someone, or what was that gift that I could give someone that's going to make a positive difference in their life in that moment that they can take home with them, whether that's metaphorically as something that they can really be with, or energetically, or physically even. And so one of my favorite gifts over the years has been, I carry a little kit. I made this special little kit, and inside of it is a little hand treatment. And so when you're out there, the dust is quite alkaline, and, you'd be talking to someone, and some people take good care of their hands and some people just don't. You can tell when someone's been up for hours and you're talking to them and you look at their hands and you're like, oh, dang, they're just covered in dust and cuticles are looking quite dry. And those are the people that I love to pull out that little kit and say, hey, I'd love to gift you a little hand treatment. And it has been so beautiful. It's such a wonderful way to connect with people and share this simple thing. And inside of it is just a few simple ingredients. One is a little spray bottle that has water and tea tree, which cleans. And then a little bit of rose water, which hydrates the skin and then kind of gets into the cuticles. And then I put a little like shea butter or some kind of salve and just rub it onto their cuticles and then give them a little hand squeeze. And sometimes I might put a little bit of aloe in there too, just a small thing of aloe because, it's a lot of sun and people are getting burned and that sort of thing. So little hand treatment kit has been my favorite way to gift people out on the playa.
I love that. I actually wear gloves always if I'm not sleeping, showering, or being intimate with a partner, I am wearing gloves. I buy these band gloves and I just put a new pair on every day. If you're watching the video, you can see me showing off my color guard hands right now.
That's so awesome. I did that one year, but it was by accident because I was on the build and I cut my finger really bad. And I was really grateful that I had these really nice form-fitting gloves that I had found at a thrift store that are kind of like what you're wearing now, but that's a band glove. Like if you are in a marching band
or like a funeral procession or something like that. Yeah.
Those are great instead of like work gloves, because those are a little bulky.
You don't need it too thick.
Exactly.
It's so hot. Yeah.
Marching band gloves. Yep. Keeps your hands protected. And especially if you get a cut, because that was that was what my saving grace was. Yeah.
Some people, the dust doesn't bother them much and they just need to, you give a treatment of, vinegar or witch hazel every once in a while. I am someone where the dust causes me significant discomfort. It's like fingers on a chalk on a chalkboard to me when the dryness on my fingertips. So it really helps me to have gloves on anytime I'm outside. Yeah, but I wanted to just dig into gifting a little bit because we could do a gifting 6-part series because gifting changed my life. Gifting is the principle that by far has impacted my life more than anything else in my life. My TEDx talk years ago, it's called Gratitude, Gifting, and Grandpa. Because gifting is revolutionary. You know, if you go to Burning Man, many people, they could come to it thinking that it's about barter, you know, which is a transactional interaction. It is saying that the ledger, I give you something worth one, you give me something worth one, and if we trade, then the ledger is equal. That's how most of our lives are. We live in a transactional based world. So gifting is not that. And so until you are doing it, you don't quite recognize what it means. It means that without any expectation of return, I'm going to give you something. And then if it makes you happy, that's a +1 to you. If I see you happy, that's going to make +1 to me. And that revolutionized my whole world. Like, oh, wait a minute. I mean, I can make myself happier by making other people happier. Yes. And that, I think, is the part of gifting that needs to be really kind of chewed on, instead of going straight to, what gift should I bring? What gift should I bring? You know, like, should I bring bracelets to give to people? It's like, okay, well, first let's think, what is gifting? Gifting is starting to look at the world as opportunities to make a day, a moment, a life better. Mm-hmm. Where can I find a way to make this person's day better? Sometimes that is giving them a necklace or a bracelet. Yeah. Often it is something like giving them a hand rub. But it's the mentality that allows you can show up with nothing and go, ooh, I have extra toilet paper and they ran out in this porta potty. I'm going to go put some teepee in there. Or I'm going to stand out front and offer teepee to people. Or I'm going to hold the door open. I'm going to, you know, somebody just offered me food. I'm going to say, hey, do you guys have dishes covered? Because, you know, this is a way I can gift. Yep. And that shift of like, how can I fill in cracks in the world is what can transform your Burning Man experience and transform your life. Absolutely. And that's a major piece around life. And how do we show up to life? Are we taking or are we contributing? And I feel like this phrase that really fuels a lot of my day is, how can I serve the moment? My friend Andrew Saloni speaks a lot about this. How can I just keep serving the moment? How can I contribute to this already beautiful moment? And I love what you said around, where is there a crack that I might be able to fill with some gold? You know, is that helping somebody put up their tent? Is it, you know, riding by somebody who is looking a little lost and checking in with them? You know, is there little ways that we might be able to bring some light into a hard situation? Is there a way that I'm willing to let go of, you know, some tension within myself and just soften? You know, how can I show up in the best way to contribute to the whole? And I think that is huge when we are willing to see service as a gift too. You know, it's like, okay, how can I actually share? This is the thing I always say. You guys have probably heard me say it a million times and I'll keep saying it. How can I keep showing up in the best way, sharing my unique gifts with the world in a way that is going to make a positive difference, right? And so always letting that guide my direction, it brings so much magic. And then naturally, all of a sudden, these gifts start coming to me. I actually was watching firsthand. It's like Burning Man is an accelerator. It's like this condensed experience of magic, right? It's like you give something and then it almost instantly comes back. But it's just like a quick feedback loop. Quick story. One time I gifted something. Oh no, someone gifted me something. It was a bracelet. It was a pink and orange bracelet. Because I was on this art car and I was the only one wearing black and white. It was an pink and orange theme on Disorient Orange Party, and I didn't have anything. So this guy gave me this pink and orange bracelet to help me feel included. And that was like my second burn. And I remember thinking, oh, well, he gave me something. I should give him something back. This mentality, right? Well, if someone gives you something, well, then you're obliged to give it back to that person. Transaction. And so I was like, I looked down on my wrist and I had this black and white bracelet that I made. And I was waiting for the moment for the guy to come back and I was going to give it to him and I was all ready. And then all of a sudden he starts walking towards me. And then right as I go to give it to him, he turns around, walks the other way. And this other guy was sitting there who was like, I didn't see him before, but he was wearing black and white. He was sitting by himself. He looked a little lonely. And the step I was taking towards this other guy,
led me to this other person. And I said, hey, brother, I was like, I have a gift for you. And I put this on his brace on his arm, and he looked at me like, oh my God, this is amazing. Thank you so much. And he lit up and he felt so included. So it was more so about passing it on, really being in that stream of generosity and allowing it to flow, not feeling that obligation to have to give back to that same person, but just continue to be in that generous expression of our authentic creativity, and then watch where it guides us.
That is a really significant and challenging thing for people to practice and learn, which is letting go of the obligation to reciprocate, because you end up robbing the other person of that joy, because when you gave that person their bracelet and they lit up, you were lit up. It made you feel amazing. If they started fumbling around and said, oh, what do I have to give to you? You would not receive that joy. They would have broken this magical loop of gifting that happens by just receive and let me experience the joy that it gives you.
Yes.
And it will blow your mind.
Yes.
You let yourself do that.
Well, and for those of you out on the playa and out in the world too, it's a good reminder to practice receiving. Practice just receive. When someone offers you a hand, instead of being like, no, I got it. I can carry these 3 big bins by myself. No. Like, if someone's offering, they want to help. Say yes. Right? If someone offers you a compliment, don't redirect it and be like, oh yeah, well, I don't, but you.
This whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, thank you. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for showing up. Thank you, because the more that we open ourselves to receive, then this like funnel starts to open.
Yeah. You mentioned a minute ago about service and, that the idea of let me be of service in the world, let me share my gifts. And I think that before I discovered Burning Man, I thought I understood that idea of service, of doing charity, but I thought that was a type of sacrifice. You do it because you should. I have so much blessings. I should do good. I'm abundant, therefore I should give. But until you start practicing it, you don't really realize that that's not a sacrifice. It is a selfish, self-centered attraction of good. Like, oh yeah, like it makes you feel good to do it. So it is not giving up anything to be of service. It is actually an empowering, a joy-giving, service is joy when you actually start practicing it.
Totally. It's so true. Beautifully said. I'd love to pivot into one of the other things that has really inspired me about Burning Man and spark some of our listeners and hear what you have to say about this too, Halcyon, is this concept of social lubrication and icebreakers and living with thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Most of these camps are anywhere between 5 to hundreds of people. We're in communal living. We're in close quarters with people. In our day-to-day lives, we have our own little houses that we go to. We're not so face-to-face all the time. And so I'd love to, explore this conversation around how do you have success at Burning Man and beyond, with finding ways to create healthy conversations, inspiring, playful conversations where the magic really resides. I'll start us off because I have a couple.
Okay.
So one of my favorite things about engaging at Burning Man is that there is sort of a thin veil between people. There is this understanding between people that we all made a pilgrimage to get here. And so we have this common understanding with each other. And so there's less of that kind of, oh, I have to introduce myself and break the ice. Like, at a grocery store, you stand behind someone in line and you might have a couple words, but it's kind of awkward. There's a little bit thicker of a barrier. At Burning Man, it's a lot less. And so what I have really played with and found at Burning Man that has really been so fun is finding ways to just drop right in with people. And one of the ways that I love to do that is with jokes. getting to check in with someone if they have a joke, or just like randomly, spontaneously sharing jokes with people. I also love being able to talk to the artists that are, maybe they're working on their big art piece there, or maybe it's someone that's building a camp, or there's obviously someone doing some kind of art. It's like engaging with the artist and asking them about their process, and, getting to inquire with people around where they got their inspiration from, asking questions to really understand people. And I think it's just such an important part of our humanity is connection. And Burning Man really provides an opportunity to practice being engaged with people.
Yeah.
And so you're so good at that, Halcyon. I mean, you're so approachable and so playful. And so I'd love to hear any social lubrication tips and tricks and ways to just help bridge the gap between people.
Well, you nailed, I think, one of the significant things, which is recognizing that this context is set up with the intention of us witnessing one another. Like, we are all showing up as art to be part of this experience. This is not, we're not going to a concert to look at artists. We're not consumers. We are all participants. And so by going, you are acknowledging, I am part of Burning Man, and everyone is part of Burning Man, and participation is one of the 10 principles. So engaging in someone is not a violation of any like social construct. You're not bugging someone by saying, oh my gosh, tell me about those pants. Like, of course, that's the appropriate way that we interact there. And so letting yourself accept that there's a difference here, and so approaching anyone is acceptable, because part of that is also because of the gifting. Because in the default world, someone walks up to you, a stranger, there's a good chance that they want something from you. They want you to sign something. They want to sleep with you. They want money from you. But at Burning Man, if someone walks up to you, they either want to give you something or they think you're interesting. And so when you start practicing that, there's this, you're allowed to let go of some of the anxieties that you might have. I won't say you're allowed to. I'll say I will encourage you to practice and remind yourself that everyone around you wants to know you better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it takes courage, I think, to actually go up to people as well. Because I've also had the experience of feeling really isolated in a big crowd of people and really insecure and scared and not sure how to engage. And so when we have that inner dialogue that's saying, oh my God, I feel so alone, or I feel so separate, or the story that I had played before is that like, well, everyone knows each other, but I don't know anyone here, and I don't know where to put myself, and I feel displaced and I feel awkward inside myself. Those are, going to perpetuate the story and the experience, then it gets amplified. But when we can get out of our own way and break the ice with someone and just follow that moment where it's like, you know what? I actually want to make some friends. My need right now is for connection, not isolation. And if I'm noticing I'm playing out a poor me story, then it's important for me to take some deep breaths and go find someone to check in with and just like follow, like, okay, I can be courageous and just go up to someone and say, hey, where'd you come from? I'm like, wow, you look magical.
Yeah.
Or like find some way to go to an art piece and see where there's maybe some people hanging out and chatting, maybe engaging in conversation. It's safe to do that. Right. I know one of my favorite things actually was, like going up to a group of people. I've done this multiple times when I was kind of traveling around on the playa by myself and seeing these little cliques and these little gatherings of people, and then just going up and being like, hi. And feeling, I'd say 98% of the time, like, oh, hi, hey, what's up? Da-da-da-da-da, chat. Maybe I ride my bike around with them for a little while, make some friends, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 3 hours. And then it's like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
And then I'm off. And so many times out there, I have met and connected with people on very deep levels and then have never, ever seen them again. Right. There's this really cool feeling of non-attachment. And then there's other times where you have this really deep connection and it's like, oh, I'm definitely getting your number. So I guess that's another packing tip too. If you want to stay connected with the people, then make sure you get people's phone numbers or Instagrams or whatever it might be right away. because you might never see them again, right? If you have a little notepad, have them write their number down. Always really helpful. Keep your device away, of course. Like having the notepad is great because then you can have like little scribbles on it.
I generally I get little business cards made up that have my contact information. That's not a business card. It's not commercial because you don't want to be promoting your business when you're out there, but just some contact information and how we can stay in touch. Or like if you take pictures of someone, you go, oh, I took your picture. If you want it, email me or message me in this way and I'll get it to you. I think the easiest connection trick tip is compliments. Complimenting is so acceptable and part of the culture, and so there's two ways. One, you invite compliments by wearing or doing or being something that is unique, like, top of the list, dye your hair pink. That's what I would suggest. But anything really, like anything that just put on something where be fun, so that when people ask you, oh, I love that, it starts the conversation. And then be that person. As you walk up to them and go, whoa, I love those pants. Oh, great sunglasses. Oh, in fact, when we do the Pink Ride, which is the event I do every Thursday at noon, we do a parade and we say, I love you, or compliment everyone we pass. So like 100 people are just saying it. So people just get flooded with all these compliments. It's awesome. But you can be doing that constantly, just being like, oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. Now, one thought on compliments that I do want to share, which is that there are, I think, safer and dangerous ways to give compliments, especially if you are a man and you're complimenting women, or it's something that could be interpreted as hitting on someone. Be careful how you do that. You don't want to make someone uncomfortable or be creepy. And if you find yourself, I'm only complimenting people that you consider to be beautiful, then check in with yourself and say, maybe I should be trying to connect with this community more than trying to meet someone to sleep with. And so when you're complimenting, try to compliment something that is about the choices they've made or the decisions they've made, or something about who they are as a human instead of the way they look. Like saying like, I love your eye makeup is better than you have pretty eyes. Or those pants are amazing, rather than great butt. You try to give someone credit for the art that they are, rather than the gifts that God gave them.
Yeah, I love that. So powerful. I think that there is something really beautiful about sharing love and complimenting and spreading light. And also, Burning Man and life will bring stuff up for us. There's so many triggers that can happen. We're living in camp with, say, 50 people for a week. A lot of these people you might not even know. And there's dynamics. And there is sleep deprivation. And there are things that can really create tension. Things might not go the way that you want them to go. Maybe there's somebody in your camp that is just a royal pain in the butt. How do we navigate social dynamics in close quarters like that, with all of these elements that can contribute to that kind of tension, right? And I think that this has been really helpful for me to learn about grace, taking care of myself. This is a big one, I think, to remind everyone out there, especially those of you that are going for your first time, is to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. So I've learned that if I'm getting triggered by someone, or if I'm really frustrated by a way somebody is being, then I get to check in with myself first. Where are certain needs of mine not being met? Whether that is physically, am I hydrated? Right? Because sometimes dehydration can come off in different ways than being thirsty. And we get easily triggered. We start playing stories in our heads. It's like, drink some water and electrolytes. Right? So checking in with physical needs. And then also recognizing how and when to either lean in or take space, because there might be certain relationships that you really kind of have to lean into, even though they're triggering you. And how do you find grace while leaning in? Say, for example, you're building a camp with someone, and the camp build or lead person is someone that you just really don't respect, or that has been mean to you, or is being mean to other people. How do you lean in and use nonviolent communication, for example, and say, hey, excuse me, I just want to let you know that the way that I'm witnessing, the way that you talk to that person is really bringing up some feelings for me. I feel really unsafe, or I feel really frustrated or scared or angry or disconnected. Is there a way that we can actually start to bring a little more kindness into the way that we're communicating? Because that would help me want to just keep showing up and support this build, for example. Right? That would be real different than going up to the lead build and being like, stop being such a jerk.
Right.
You know, it's like, how do we practice our communication? How do we really lean into places that might be a little uncomfortable and use our tools? And then also know when that moment is to, you know what, I just actually can't be around that person. I'm just going to redirect my attention, and I'm going to go find a different place to serve that feels better, that I feel more received or supported, or just is in greater alignment to what I value.
Yeah. You can build utopia and human beings will still bring their shit there. So there's like that Adam Sandler travel agency thing. If you are depressed and you go to Italy, you will still be that same person. You will just be depressed in Italy. You know? So it's like, if you have tension and you're frustrated, Burning Man is not going to make that go away. It could actually make it tenser. But I think that also the hungry, thirsty, tired, that is the first check-in. That, in fact, there's most camps during build and stuff, there is a job called fluffer, which is the person that walks around with cold water and food and makes sure, are you hydrated? Because it's just a known fact that at a certain level of physical needs not getting met, people get testy and the tension starts to crack and it gets uglier than it needs to be.
And then it turns into a horrible full week experience. It just ripples out into the duration. And then it's like, then you leave feeling depleted and frustrated and resentful and all that. And it's like, wait a second. We have a choice to take some action to change that in the moment.
Yeah. There's another thing to keep in mind is that if you are not enjoying your Burning Man experience, walk 50 feet. There are so many different things happening at all times, and it's easy to get caught in, like, if your camp dynamic is not great, you know, or you feel like you just can't get over this conflict with someone in your camp, don't hang out much at your camp. There are camps that will adopt you. You know, you probably don't even need to, you can spend days and days and never go back to your camp. You just got to break out of the story that, like, I have to go home right now. You don't have to go home right now.
You do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want. You can go sleep in some dome someplace. You can go wander until you smell food and eat there. You know, like, you can do whatever you want. And so, like, I'll try to tell this short, but there was years ago, my camp, we were on 2:00 Eve, like the biggest area for a sound camp. We had a massive camp. We had live sod inside this massive shade structure and DJs and waterfalls, and a windstorm got under our tarps, peeled back, bent all the poles, destroyed our camp. The sod dried out, went everywhere. In fact, the reason why you can no longer have organic material on playa and they will confiscate it is because of us, Zara. We created so much moop. But the day after this massive storm, when we were sitting in the rubble, we were just sitting around crying, and these two women rode up on their bikes and they're all dressed up in beautiful outfits. They're like, "Hey, do you guys know where Zara is? Where's Zara?" And I look at them and I'm like, this is Zara. And they just looked at me totally matter of fact and went, "Okay." And they rode away. And I was like, "Where are you going? Like, why won't you join us in our suffering?" I'm like, "Oh, Burning Man is still happening. There's awesome joy everywhere. I am choosing to stay in the wreckage." And so I got on my bike and rode around, and it turns out there's awesomeness around every corner.
Perspective shift. Yeah. Choosing in that moment how long you want to stay in the suffering. I think I'll actually quote something that you shared on another one of our Stay Sparked episodes around how committed am I to the suffering right now? Or how committed am I to my story, whatever it is. And mindfulness is always something for us to check in about, right? And so at Burning Man, with everything being amplified, we get to keep checking in. How committed to joy today am I? How committed to feeling frustrated or being righteous or annoyed am I being? And do I have an opportunity to pivot? And Burning Man provides so many directions to go. You can stand in one spot and go hundreds of different directions and find something totally different and so unique and magical, very likely beautiful. That's why I love that environment so much, because it really gives you an opportunity to keep practicing the shift of perspective. And so, you can be standing in one place and looking at one thing from a viewpoint, and you can move 2 feet over and you can hear different sounds, you can smell different smells, you can see from different views. There is just so much opportunity for practicing the change of perspective. And that's so healthy for our brains, to be able to kind of unwind our programming and start to get new neurons firing on a regular basis, then just opens up a whole other level of possibilities.
That's one of the grand gifts of Burning Man, is that it is so different. So much of the stimulation, the patterns, is so different from our default life that you have to make new patterns, And so it's really fun to start noticing when your old patterns are trying to force you into, like, oh, I need to wake up and have some cereal right now. Like, do you? Like, you don't, or I can't sleep. Oh, I'm upset because I can't sleep. Well, then why don't you walk around? Because there's stuff happening. Go, if you're awake, don't be angry that you can't sleep. Go see what's happening. And there's all these different ways where you, as you start to just surrender and allow, you will find that your mind is often in the way of what you really will bring you joy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mindset is everything.
I wanted to touch also on one of the things that can be very challenging and blissful is being at Burning Man when you're in romantic relationship. That's a thing that you can't really just walk away from. And although what I would highly suggest is do quite a bit of conversations in advance of expectations and boundaries. I actually have a whole video about relationship tips that I'll put in the show notes, but I'm of the mind that I know that if we're having conflict in our relationship and we spend 2, 3, 4 days arguing, I'm going to be so upset that 3 days of Burning Man were sacrificed because of our tired, angry, hormonal patterns, that I will say to my partner, like, hey, we get into a place where we just can't get joyful with each other. I'm going to take a break. You're going to be angry at me, but when we get back to the default world, I will have no resentment and we will be able to repair on the other side. So just know in advance that we gotta figure out how to be kind and harmonious to each other, or we're going to take a break and not sacrifice this event. So having those kind of conversations in advance, and also conversations about if Burning Man can be a place of promiscuity. I've had many, many, many years where I never even got close to intimacy with anyone. And I've had years where I was pretty, and in relationship, that if you're going for the first time, you might have this fear of like, oh, my partner's going to go and sleep with a bunch of people. Like, they're not going to go do that. And they're not going to have that many opportunities, but unless it's something that they really want to make happen. And so having the conversation in advance of like, this is something that I would be interested in if it happens in a beautiful way. What would that look like or mean to you? Like, okay, well, I'm okay with you doing it if we talk about it first, or I want to meet the person first, or I'm okay with you dancing with other people, but definitely no kissing other people. Like making sure you're really clear about that so that you don't get intoxicated and then think, I'm a Burning Man, I'm a place of freedom, how could you judge me? Like, well, no, we've talked about this. Good to know in advance.
Yep. Set yourself up for success in your relationship. Absolutely. Have those clear agreements at the very beginning. If something needs to shift while you're there, check back in.
Yeah.
Really provide a safe place for your partner to be able to explore who they are within the, co-created confines of what your relationship is about. Right? That can provide such depth and such intimacy and even greater closeness, right? But without those agreements, it's kind of like setting up a structure without poles. Or, like you need to have, if you're going to set up your tent, you need poles. You can't just throw the tarp up. You got to have the solid foundation to be able to grow from and then exist within. I think that's really, really important. And I think also one of the things is kind of like sparking here too is just, I have so many things on my list here, but I think one of the main pillars here is respect. When we respect ourselves, when we respect our environment, when we respect other people, when we respect the agreements of the culture here as well, which the 10 commandments of Burning Man, I think that this really provides so much contribution to the whole and so much more ease in the space, right? And so I know we haven't really said what those 10 principles are. Would you be willing to share them?
Ooh, I'm going to say it's too deep a conversation to explain.
Post a video.
But we'll link to a video explaining them all and say that it is really worth it to get an understanding of them, because when you have a sense of what the 10 principles are, it's liberating. You can be so free as long as you are following those principles. So if you follow the principles, you can do anything, and you know that it is going to be productive and artistic and contributing to the event. Whereas if you just do anything without knowing the principles, you could detract from other people's experience and not make the city better, which is really the goal, is like, how can I make this city better? How can I make this city better? How can I make this city better?
Contribution. I think that for those first-time burners out there, I think it is really important to familiarize yourself with those 10 principles. So thank you for putting the link in the show notes, but also just really do your research. What is this event about? This is not like any other event in the entire world, and it is what it is because of the way that it's been built. And so I think it's really powerful to keep coming back to those pillars that make this what it is. And then holding that as a frequency for everyone there as well. And so, yeah, little sparks of inspiration around that. And then also one of the other pieces here that I probably could do another whole 10 episodes on is the affirmation that I really love to be with for Burning Man and in life is organization is a pathway to freedom. Organization is a pathway to freedom. Because if we are showing up all disorganized, we don't know where our shit is, I don't know what's going on, I can't find my headlamp, and I don't know where this is, and I don't have systems in place, then that sets us up for chaos. And it is so frustrating to not know where the things that you need for your, quote unquote survival, or it's more like thrival at Burning Man, right? We want to thrive while we're there. And so how do we set ourselves up for success? By creating systems that are going to provide greater ease throughout the entire experience. And one of the ways I love to do that is what I call pouch packing. I have all my little pouches that I've been collecting over the years, and I have my little packing cubes, and I have my little Ziploc bags. I keep everything in those pouches, in those bags throughout the entire week. I have my specific things. Like I have a little special pouch that goes right next to my bed. It always has the same things in it. I never move anything that's in that pouch out of that pouch the entire time. So every time I crawl into bed, I have my throat spray, I have some chapstick, I have my tissues, I have a little wet wipes, maybe eye drops, earplugs. Those things are always staying there. So that way I know every time I go to bed, I'll have the things. I don't have to get into bed and be like, oh man, I left my throat spray in my bag, or oh God, where I might have left it in my coat pocket, or maybe I left it over there. And it just makes your mind have so much more ease when we know where our things are.
That's so true. On Burner Prep, I have a whole video on plastic bins, a whole video on Ziplocs, a whole video on having a day bag and a night bag where you just keep the stuff that you're going to use at night. Because you don't want to have a backpack and then empty it every morning and then every night go, where's my flashlight? You just have a nighttime bag, have a daytime bag, and then you'll start to add to it. Go, one thing that I kind of mentioned a few things that made it sound like Burning Man is about good times always and, flee from negativity and darkness. But Burning Man is exceptionally challenging. But it is everything about it, getting to it, the environment, the weather. And I think it's important to remember that is part of it. This is not a vacation. It is an adventure. and you intentionally take on these big challenges. That's like, it's kind of this insanity. Like, can we survive in this inhospitable place for a week? And then on top of that, can we do it while looking fabulous? Can we do it while cooking gourmet food? Can we do it while bringing carnival games? And so you're intentionally adding difficulty. And I think there's a real lesson in life there. Life is not about trying to avoid struggle. It's about finding awesome struggle and working through it with people you like and keeping a good attitude while you do it.
Oh, yes. And finding grace while you do it, right? Because it literally is a pilgrimage. This is a vision quest, a spirit quest, a pilgrimage to a beautiful place out in the world that will absolutely change you. And it will challenge you in the best ways. It gives us an opportunity to grow, and those challenges are an essential part of it. It's like, how do we face the challenges that arise in our lives? You know, recently my sister just she's still going through a very challenging moment where her power went out for like 6 days, and she has a bum shoulder. You know, she's getting challenged big time, but how does she face it? Right? Is she going to sit there and just keep playing the victim? Right? If you're on your way to Burning Man, or you are at Burning Man and things are not going in the best way, are you going to contribute to it by just being like, man, why does this always happen to me? Oh man, this is so hard. This is like, oh, I can't do this. You know, this is a great opportunity to self-reflect. You know, for anyone out there that has like done spirit quests, goes out onto the mountain for days without eating. This is a highly transformational experience for our spiritual evolution. And Burning Man can be that for us. And so, just keep that in mind as you're going out there, whether, you know, this is your first time or, like I said, 27th time, always places to grow and evolve and really step into the next version of ourselves.
Yeah. It is so valuable because it pushes our edges, and when we survive something that it was harder, weirder, more edgier than we've done in the past, it expands our boundaries of what we were. And that is a good way to continue living. Keep stretching on what's possible for you and what you can do and what you can survive. And that's, I think, another, like, the gift of being around 70,000 people that are all allowing themselves to be creative in ways that maybe they've never been supported in the past. People sometimes say that Burning Man is a permission engine, and that in the default world, we spend so much energy figuring out, what should we do? How do we fit in? What should we do? What should we do? And then Burning Man's like, no. What do you want to do? And that is such a crazy liberating question that in the default world, we often don't get asked. And so to witness people giving themselves permission to do things, you're going to see people doing things that are so much weirder than what you thought was weird. And so when you're like, oh man, I don't know if I want to wear these sequined boy shorts, you know, like they kind of, I don't know, do I look stupid in this? And then you walk outside in your sequined shorts and you see someone on all fours, barking like a dog, towing Santa in a sleigh, and you're like, yeah, no one cares. No one cares what I'm doing. You know?
Yes, exactly. And also the flip side too. Am I the weird one in my yoga pants and sweatshirt?
Yeah.
You know, it's like that one is really important too, to remember you can show up exactly how you are in every moment. You don't have to dress up every single time.
Ooh.
You know, that was a big one for me to really get to. The last time I went, I was like, I am intentionally going to choose some days where I am just going to wear my regular clothes and feel okay about it. Because that has been way too many mental energy moments thinking about like being cool or wearing the thing that is just going to be like so awesome and so unique and so standoutish. And it's like, then I like actually spend more time in my tent trying to get ready than just out and enjoying the experience. Ooh. You know, and then really that's the gift of Burning Man, is that the diversity is really welcomed. So show up, you know, in a way that is going to make you feel really most yourself. And if that means being totally naked or totally dressed up, it's really up to you in each moment.
Absolutely.
And I think that you and I are both really passionate, clearly, about Burning Man. So much so that you created a whole Instagram page. I have been posting every year burner tips, and I have a checklist, and I even wrote some Burning Man affirmations that I'll be sharing as well. So for those of you out there that want to manifest some magic out on the playa, I'll share those. And I think we're probably at a good point where we can have some closing sparks.
I got a couple things that I want to close with sparks, and I want to encourage everyone, do check the notes. You want to hear these affirmations. They are brilliant. So make sure you check the show notes this week, or email one of us, or message us, or contact us on Instagram so we can get you this awesome content. I wanted to talk just a second about costumes. People often reach out to me like, where do I get Burning Man clothes? I'm like, there's no such thing as Burning Man clothes. This is not a scene that you got to figure out what to wear so you fit in. The whole point of Burning Man is that you are permission to do whatever you want, to dress however you want. If you want to dress in yoga pants, please do so. The one thing that they do ask is no logos. Don't wear corporate logos. But if you want to wear cargo shorts and a t-shirt every day, feel free. That is absolutely to you. But really, the opportunity is I've always wanted to wear a Viking helmet. Well, then that's the place you can do a Viking helmet. I've always wanted to wear women's clothing. Well, then do that. I've always wanted to, and you might be in a situation where I've always wanted to wear, raver fur boot covers. Great. You could do that, but don't do it because you feel like that's what a burner costume is. And I would say, let this be the last time I use the word costume, because a costume is when you are dressing in a way to pretend to be something that you're not. An outfit is when you are wearing something that is an expression of a part of who you are. So put together your Burning Man outfits so that you can explore different parts of who you are.
Yes, thank you for that. Beautifully stated. I have always felt that way too. I'm not putting on costume. I am wearing clothes to express my unique creativity. And I think that that's probably the question that is good to be in. Where can I find unique clothing or unique elements to contribute to my outfit that will help me feel really expressed? And this is a really great opportunity to support artists. Right? If you're not a clothing designer or an artist, there's a lot of people out there that are making really cool clothes that you can wear on the playa and off the playa. There's beautiful bazaars, there's markets, there's Etsy. There's really amazing handcrafted pieces that you can invest your money into, somebody who put their love into it. And then another way, if you want to be a little more resourceful, is go to a thrift store and start thinking outside the box, right? If you want to wear something unique, let your creativity start to grow, and maybe get a pair of fabric scissors and find a cool jacket and cut the sleeves off. Or maybe get a cool t-shirt and cut some holes in it, or make some fringe, or, do something that will just get you thinking in that artful mindset. It's a really beautiful opportunity to play and to let the inner child just express and do something weird. It's the best. It's such a good feeling. It's so liberating.
Witnessing tens of thousands of people allowing themselves to be silly and wacky and weird, and it really opens your mind to what's possible. So if it's your first time, give yourself a little grace that you're not going to know what the right thing. You're going to just show up, have your notebook, and be like, oh, next year I'm going to make myself a fur helmet, and next year I'm going to do this. Just allow yourself to fall into play. My closing spark is about a general attitude that often people will say Burning Man's on their bucket list, or I used to be a greeter, which is someone that welcomes each person that comes in and says, welcome home, and gives them a booklet and some answers questions. And people would often say, oh, it's my first time. I'm just here to check it out. I'm here to check it out. And that's not how this works. This is not a concert. It's not a music festival. There's not artists on stage for you to check out. You're not the audience. You are Burning Man. You are there to contribute you. And some of that is being someone who participates in other people's stuff. So it is a gift to this city to go, ooh, there's a miniature golf set up. Let's go play. That's how you can contribute. You can, or you might, at the end of the miniature golf, you might say, wow, everyone's got bruised shins from playing this game. I'm going to fashion shin guards out of the stuff that I found. Or I mean, just let yourself realize that you are the janitor, you are the host, you are the entertainer, you are what this event is, and your contribution is what makes it what it is, and you are so welcome. And if it's your first time, I can't wait to welcome you home. And find me, if you see me, please ask for a hug.
Yes, beautiful. I have so many closing sparks. I will share from my seat over here, knowing that I'm not going this year and that there's a lot of other friends that have been many times that are not going this year. The closing spark is to let the spirit of Burning Man and all of what we're talking about and more to continue to inspire and illuminate and bring that out into the world, to really bring the essence of creativity and contribution and community and uniqueness and that veil that is between people out in the quote unquote default world. Bring that into the world, because it is a real gift to shine and to share and to bring the lessons and the magic of the playa off the playa. And so I love this conversation. I want to keep it going. I definitely am going to check out your Burner Prep Instagram page and share it. I'm feeling extra sparked now. Thank you, Halcyon. And for those of you also that want to have a little more one-on-one conversation, feel free to send me a note and just chat about Burning Man, or just reach out. Always love getting to connect with friends and people out there that are listening.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. I want to list a couple of ways to find me on Playa and off that are related to things we've been talking about. If you're going to Burning Man, my main event that I've been doing for, I think, 18 years is the Pink Ride. It's Thursday at noon, and we meet at Pink Heart, which is at 445 in Esplanade. And so show up with your bike. If you've got a pink outfit, wear that. And I will money back guarantee that it will be a highlight of your burn. And then on Friday at 9 p.m. at Burners Without Borders, so I'm going to have a fireside gratitude circle at 9 p.m. and that's at 345 in Esplanade. So those are two events that I will be hosting and I will be at, that I would love for you to join me. And then as far as resources and videos and things, this podcast is a way that we have been trying to integrate Burning Man ideals into the default world. So I think we've been practicing it pretty darn good. If you've listened for a while, we are constantly referencing things we've learned at Burning Man and how we integrate it into our lives. I also, the morning broadcast that I do every day at 9 a.m. on YouTube and Facebook is a Love Ambassador meetup, and it is anchored in how do we find this, how do we make that veil as thin as possible? How do we be the ambassadors that allow other people to let down their veils and connect in that place that is so easy at Burning Man? It's that kind of practice scrimmage area where we can practice with a supportive community so that we can then take it into the world and have the courage and the strength to be that love ambassador, even when the world doesn't always give us the affirmation and confirmation that makes it feel good. So join me every day, any day at 9 o'clock, or see me at Burning Man, and lifestudent.com has links to all this stuff. Oh, and Burner Prep as an Instagram account.
Amazing. Yes. So good. And for those of you to find me out in the world, online and in person, you can find my website, finklehoo.com or poweraffirmation.com, where you can learn more about my offerings of doing somatic body work and healing work in San Diego and also in Asheville, North Carolina, which feels really good to get to be calling home now. And you're welcome to explore some of my audio affirmations on Insight Timer. You can check out the journal that I created, the cards that really empower thinking in affirmation and living life in affirmation. And find me out on the socials, of course. Always love to hear from you as our listeners on Apple Podcasts. So thank you so much for taking a moment after you listen to this to leave us a little review. Maybe share this episode with some of your burner friends. Always wonderful to get to serve and share some of the inspiration that we've gathered. So thank you so much for listening. And in the spirit of Stay Sparked and our closing, I would love to close this out with Burning Man Affirmation.
Yay.
All right, so you get to choose, though, Halcyon. Do you want the Burning Man Affirmation that is like kind of silly and all about like staying sane at Burning Man, or do you want the one that is like energizing and is empowering?
Oh, I think silly. I think
Silly.
that there's the sacredness of silliness is strong at Burning Man. And I think we should amplify that right now.
Okay. All right. So for you burners out there, keep these in your brain when you are riding on your bike and you're flowing through the playa. I always know where my headlamp is. I always know where my headlamp is. I always know where my water bottle is. I am very well hydrated. I am always very well hydrated. I accept my weirdness and celebrate other people and their weirdness. I accept my weirdness and I celebrate other people and their weirdness. Dust clouds avoid me. I ride through sand dunes like a boss. My bike is tip-top and I always know where it is. Let's repeat that one. My bike is tip-top and I always know where it is. My feet feel wonderful. My cuticles are happy. I sleep easily day or night. I sleep easily day or night. I sleep easily day or night. I face the porta potties with courage. I face the porta potties with courage. And I attract the cleanest portos every time. There's always plenty of TP. Always plenty of TP. I am well lit. I am well lit. I am well lit. And this is my favorite. The music miraculously gets better every time I arrive on the dance floor. That's amazing. The music always just gets better and better every time I arrive on the dance floor. It's a miracle. And lastly, Exodus is easy. Exodus is easy. Exodus is easy. Have an amazing adventure to the burn this year. And I'm so grateful for this beautiful conversation with you, Halcyon. I love you so much.
I love you. Thank you so much. Stay sparked, people. Find us on Instagram at Stay Sparked and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Thanks so much for helping us spread these sparks.